What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Darian, the Bowtie Fragrance Guy. I talk about primarily fragrances on this channel, but I also throw in some fashion tips, some style, lifestyle content, things about grooming as well. As I always say, just things to help gentlemen out there be the best versions of themselves each and every day, and make sure that we look and smell great. You know what I mean? So I think it's a whole total package. So if you're in that kind of content, make sure you hit subscribe. And make sure you enable notifications by hitting the bell icon as well. So that way, when I upload new content, you will get notified. On today's video, guys, I want to be jumping into some discontinued gems that I am fortunate enough to have in my collection. This has been one of the interesting things about my fragrance journey is the discovery of fragrances and the timing of being into or ingratiated in this whole fragrance exploration, and how you can have the perfect timing and actually acquire certain fragrances. Of course, at the time when we acquire them, we have no idea what's going to be discontinued and be deemed hard to find. When things are discontinued, they shoot up and skyrocket in price. And a lot of these fragrances that I have in my collection, well, some of them, I actually acquired them for kind of what was the going rate at the time. For example, when I got into heavily into collecting fragrances, I've always loved fragrances and had, my stash or my small collection. But when I really got into expanding my collection, I got into the YouTube space near the end of 2017. And at the time, for instance, I wasn't really thinking about Invictus Aqua, which was released in 2016. Now, there were guys that had been collecting for years, and it was a new release, and they just grabbed it at the time for probably 95, 100 bucks. And now you can sell it on eBay and places like that for almost $250, $300. So that's just kind of how this game works. So I've been fortunate enough now, since I've been in this hobby for about 6 years, to have some fragrances that I got at the time that were, at market value, and some that I actually had to go back and pay that higher price point because I really wanted to add it to the collection. But I just wanted to go through and talk about some of the gems that have been discontinued that I have in my collection. So if you want to see what I want to talk about, the fragrances that I want to talk about today, then you guys know the routine. Keep it locked right here. Let's get it.
The Bowtie Fragrance Guy.
All right, guys, we're back. Thank you so much for keeping it locked in. We're going to jump right into this video. Now, I have to start it off by talking about a fragrance that I did in collaboration with Navitus Parfums that's been discontinued, and that's this one right here, Serenade. I really sincerely wish that more people had a chance to get their nose on this masterpiece of a fragrance. Is this the most mass appealing fragrance that I did? No, but it is the most creative, and I think ultimately probably the best fragrance. You have some booziness in here that comes from this cognac accord. You have dark chocolate in here to give it, of course, that dark kind of decadent sweetness. Beeswax, honey, so you get that whole sexy nuance of the beeswax and the honey combination in this fragrance when it dries down. You want to get some patchouli in here as well. This is just a masterfully done fragrance, sincerely. I wish more people had a chance to get their nose on this, to see the creativity of this fragrance and to see just at the end of the day how good this fragrance really, really, really is, man. Unfortunately, again, it's been discontinued, but if you can get your nose on it, do yourself a favor, man, seriously. You guys need to check this out. This is what I did with Navitus. This is called Serenade. Now, this next fragrance is one I had to actually pay a high premium for because I got it on the discontinued market. I didn't get it at the time before it was discontinued. And this is from the brand of Amouage, and this is CO Man. CO Man, this has peach, nutmeg, cinnamon, cardamom, and some incense on the dry down. This is so good. Now, if you notice, guys, a lot of the, of course, newer Amouage fragrances have the magnetic cap. This is old school. This cap is not magnetic at all. All right, so you have to actually pull this cap off, and it snaps into place. So this is old school Amouage. I'm so happy to have this in my collection, man. I have a very extensive Amouage fragrance collection. This is one I really wanted to get my nose on. I'm really intrigued by the note of peach. All right, peach and plum have become two of my favorite notes that fall under that fruit umbrella. Love both of them. Just really sensual notes, if you ask me. The combination of the spices in here, the nutmeg and cinnamon, two of my favorite spices as well. So it's just a fragrance that is really pleasant, really gentlemanly. It doesn't really, this is not a huge projector. It kind of reminds me of Diamant in the way that it kind of plays on my skin. But I love this fragrance. So happy to have this discontinued gem in my collection. From the house of Amouage, this is CO, man. All right, the next fragrance up on the list, this was a really polarizing fragrance. It was love-hate. At first, I actually hated this fragrance, and then once I got it on my skin, I loved it. This is from the brand of Tom Ford. This is Noiranthracite. Noiranthracite. Check out the bottle. This fragrance has Sichuan pepper, galbanum, cedarwood, leather, patchouli. Oh, this is such a gem. This is not the type of fragrance that I would have loved when I first started getting into fragrances because it's, you know, again, it's a little polarizing. You know, that spiciness up top. Sichuan pepper is super spicy. Right, so you got that, you got the leather going on, you got this kind of bitter galbanum note in here. So it's not a mass appealing kind of fragrance, but I'm telling you guys, you talk about something sexy when it's cold outside, you got going to an event, some kind of event where you have on all black, it's just that kind of fragrance. That's the imagery that it evokes for me, but it smells so doggone good. How I fell in love with this fragrance was, because again, I hated it initially. I went to a fragrance outlet. Right, so I got this fragrance for probably about 80 bucks or so. Right now it's going for 250 or so, 300 because it's discontinued. So this is one that I got at market value. But I went to this outlet. You guys, I don't know if you guys know or not, but there's a discount. I think it's called a cosmetic store. They carry discontinued Tom Ford fragrances. So anyway, this was in there. I sprayed it on my skin because I wanted to give it another try. But I ended up buying something else. And as I continued to walk around the outlet mall, this kept calling my name. Kept calling my name. Eventually I went back and got it because I love what this fragrance actually does on my skin and what it smells like when it dries down. But anyway, so glad to have this discontinued gem in my collection. A lot of people slept on this fragrance, but I love it. Oh, I love it. From the brand of Tom Ford, Noiranthracite. All right, this next fragrance that I want to talk about is another one I got for fair market value. Got it upon its release from the brand of Paco Rabanne, 1 million Privé. 1 million Privé. This is my backup bottle. This one is almost full. The other one that I have is 3/4 of the way done. Glad to have this fragrance in my collection, man. Cinnamon, blood orange, tobacco, myrrh, tonka bean. Smells like apple pie. You guys have heard me talk about this one a lot, so I won't spend as much time on it. But I am so glad that I not only have a bottle, but I have a backup bottle. This is my favorite fragrance from the 1 million lineage of fragrances because it just really speaks to me the most. A lot of them that I have from that collection are really, really good, but this is my favorite. I love that apple pie thing that you get from this fragrance. That hookah tobacco with the cinnamon and the sweetness from the tonka bean. Perfect. So I'm glad to have this one, although it's been discontinued. If you can find yourself a bottle before it gets outrageous, guys, add this one to your collection. This is 1 million Privé. All right, this next fragrance is kind of discontinued. It was discontinued. I'll explain. This is from Tom Ford as well. This is Amber Absolute. Amber Absolute. Now, it is certainly discontinued in this size bottle. This is a 3.4 ounce. I had a 1.7 and I sold it because I still have this in some of the decanter, but this is amber, incense, and vanilla. Oh, man. So I say it's discontinued, but it's kind of not because I think last year they brought back this fragrance in one of the decanters, but it's going for 200 bucks. So you might as well say it's still discontinued because I know not many people are going to spend $2,000 on the decanter size bottle to get this stuff. If you can, if you have the money, hey, to each his own. But I'm glad I have this particular size bottle in this fragrance because I love amber. This is one of those holy grail amber fragrances and I love it. The smokiness in there with the incense is sweetened up a little bit with vanilla. The amber, kind of vanilla, ambery, labdanum thing in here. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Glad to have this in my collection. This is the time of year to be rocking this stuff. It's so good. If you like amber, you got to get your nose on this, guys. From the brand of Tom Ford, this is Amber Absolute. Guys, this next fragrance, you talk about a fragrance at the time that was a cheapie, but it is an absolute hidden gem especially if you could have gotten it for the price that I got it for back in the day, which was about 35, 40 bucks. From the brand of Jacques Paris, this is Pour Homme. This is Pour Homme. I am so glad to have this in my collection, guys. Produced in 1998, I think Dominique Ropion was actually the perfumer on this. This is raspberry, lavender, rose, amber, tonka bean spices. So good. Such a gentlemanly fragrance. That raspberry note is really a standout in this fragrance when it opens up. Absolutely love this fragrance. So glad to have it in my collection. Like I said, it's discontinued now, so now it's going for 150, 200, 250 bucks. I think it's worth, honestly, I would have paid, based on the way it smells, I would have paid 150 for it. Like when it first came on the market, if I went to a store and smelled it, I would have paid 150 for it. Now again, getting up to that 200, 250, I don't think it's worth that. But this is really, really good, especially for what I paid for it. This is a 125 ml bottle. All right, so it's a lot of juice in there. And like I said, at the time, the going rate was around between that $30 to $40 price point. Love this stuff, man. The lavender kind of give this gentlemanly quality to it. Then the sweetness from the tonka bean. One you need to get your nose on, guys. There's a little bit of rose in here as well. From the brand of Jacques Paris, this is called Pour Homme. All right, guys, this next fragrance is from the brand of Gucci. This is Gucci Pour Homme 2. Gucci Pour Homme 2. So glad to have this in my collection, guys. This fragrance is violet leaf, black tea, cinnamon, and tobacco leaf. But really, this is about that tea note. This is really a tea-based fragrance. At the time, again, when I first really got into this hobby, 2017, 18, around that time frame, you can still find this for about 80 bucks, between 80 to 90 bucks. Now, any place you see this is between $250 and $350. That's what happens when things get discontinued. And you never know, again, like I said, what's going to be discontinued. So I'm so glad to have this in my collection. Now, this is like a fragrance that is highly sought after. I'm never selling mine, but I'm glad to have it. Love tea-based fragrances. But anyway, from the brand of Gucci, Gucci Pour Homme 2. All right, guys, this next fragrance is discontinued, but I got a little surprise for you, so make sure you stick around. From the brand of Robert Graham, this is called Valor. This is called Valor, and this is amber, coffee, and sage. Really, at the end of the day, guys, this is about the coffee and the amber. And I'm so glad to have this in my collection, man. And I had a guy that I went to high school with that's into fragrances as well, and he sold it to me for about 50 bucks, actually, 50 to 80 bucks. I can't remember, somewhere in that price range. It was already discontinued, so I was really happy to add it to the collection. But I have a surprise for you guys. That's why it's good sometimes just to go on FragranceNet and kind of play around, because when I was looking this fragrance up, they actually have this on FragranceNet. So they have a few bottles of this as well as the other two, Courage and Fortitude, I think it is, from this same collection. All right, so I have the other two on the way. I'll make sure I link these down below if you want to check it out. But this is really one of those kind of hidden gems, man, that you need to add to your collection. If you like coffee fragrances, you'll love this. And this is called Valor. Wow, guys, this next fragrance is one I found in the bargain bins, and now it's going for over 100 bucks. I think I paid $15 for this. From the brand of Halston, this is called Amber Man. Halston Amber Man. I will never forget when this fragrance started getting all the notoriety, man. Thyme, amber, myrrh, oud, musk, cedarwood, some of the main notes here. I was actually strolling in one of the rack stores. It may have been Marshall's. Found this for about 15 bucks. And I looked it up and saw all the hype about it, so I grabbed a bottle. Shortly thereafter, it was discontinued. But if you're looking for a nice, ambery, incensey kind of fragrance, you really can't beat what I paid for this fragrance. It's really, really high quality. It smells of high quality. It lasts for a long time on the skin. And I think that's what caught so many people's attention about this fragrance, because it was so inexpensive. And the fact, of course, it was by the brand of Halston, who I would say is not really known for making high quality fragrances. So absolute gem to have this in the collection, man. Like I said, it's, has shot up there and skyrocketed in price, but I only paid 15 bucks for it. Glad to have this from the brand of Halston. This is Halston Amber Man. All right, guys, this next fragrance is another one that I got at fair market value. I think I paid 40, 50 bucks for it, which is definitely worth that. Today you're hearing about brands that I don't talk about a lot, on the channel. But this is from the brand of Perry Ellis, and this is called Black Vanilla Absolute. Here is the bottle. This fragrance is vanilla, rum, oud, and tobacco. Some of the main notes in here. And to me, this is a really, really nice vanilla fragrance, especially when you talk about designers. Some of the designer fragrances, especially at this price point, it smells really, really cheap. But this smells really, really high quality, especially for the house of Perry Ellis, which again is another company not really known for their fragrances. All right, but this was a fragrance that really caught fire. The oud vanilla combination here, it really for what people got for it. Because I think it's because a lot of people didn't expect a lot when you talk about quality or fragrance of this quality from Perry Ellis, and I think that had a lot to do with it. But it does smell really, really good, man. If you like vanilla fragrances, especially for what this was going for back at that time, it was really, really a bargain pickup. Glad to have it in my collection. Another one now that's $250, $300 when you look around. So Discontinued gem. Glad to have this in my collection from the brand of Perry Ellis, Black Vanilla Absolute. And this next one I've talked about a lot on the channel, so I don't want to talk about it too much and rub it in. But Straight to Heaven Extreme from By Killian. So glad to have this, guys. This is one of my favorite fragrances in my collection, one of my top 10 in my entire collection. Of course, the cedar wood and the booziness from, this is so good. This is so good. Like I said, guys, don't want to rub it in. As I always tell you guys, though, if you just want to pick up the original Straight to Heaven, it does the trick. All right, it does the trick. This is just a more amped up version of the original Straight to Heaven, performed a little bit better and stuff like that, but it's still the same fragrance essentially. Straight to Heaven Extreme, one of my favorite fragrances in my entire collection. So glad I have this and some kind of backup decants, thanks to my guy Ryan. But anyway, can't check this out, but check out the original Straight to Heaven. You'll kind of get a similar vibe. Glad I have this in my collection, Straight to Heaven Extreme. All right, guys, and the last fragrance that I want to mention today from the brand of Guerlain, this is Stunt Day Guerlain Extreme. Now, this is about anise, tea, neroli, cacao, and patchouli. Oh, masterpiece. Masterpiece. To me, this is really about the anise, the cacao, and patchouli combination. That's really what this is about, and that kind of citrusy, lemony thing on the opening of this fragrance. It's really hard to put into words how good this fragrance is. Now, this is kind of discontinued. This particular bottle is discontinued. Now, you can find like a version of this, which is kind of, a shell of what this once was. But they call this fragrance affectionately known as Lidge. And if you can find a bottle of this, I highly recommend you get your nose on it, man. Just a masterfully done fragrance. You got to get your nose on it. This is so good. Glad to have this in my collection. This is one I had to pay a premium for. I didn't get it at the time that it was inexpensive, and you could get it for probably $100 or so. I didn't get it at that time, so I paid a premium for it. But I'm glad to have it in my collection. So if you can find it, I think it's worth it. From the brand of Guerlain, this is Stunt Day Guerlain. But that is it, guys. That is my time. I was glad to bring this video to you guys and just kind of share again some of these discontinued gems that I'm happy to have in my collection. What are some discontinued gems that you have in your collection? I would love to hear from you down in the comment section. And as always, I sincerely appreciate you guys' time and attention to these videos. I know you don't have to watch, but you do, and I sincerely appreciate that. Now, don't forget to take a few moments to like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you are sharing these videos out to some other folks out there that you think could use the information and find it entertaining. Because I'm your guy, Darren, I'm the bow tie fragrance guy. I love to look good, and of course, I love to smell amazing. So until next time, keep looking good, keep smelling even better. I'll catch you flip side.